Welcome back, everybody. Here we are. We're going to review issue 99. Only one issue left. Let's get started. The S-54 assault ship was built by Bottijeff shipyards to fill a specific need for a basic, no-frills gunship for planetary defense forces. The model was a huge success, though much of its popularity was as a result of an early clerical error. It was mistakenly classified as a light freighter rather than an assault ship, thereby making it a non-military craft, and so an attractive choice not only for its intended market but also for less law-abiding customers. Being a planetary defense craft, the factory standard SS-54 had no hyperdrive, though was fitted with very capable sublight engines, making it fully able to fly from a planet to a moon or between space stations. Without cargo, the ship could transport around 20 fully equipped individuals, albeit with standing room only. A gunboat by any other name, Bottijeff Shipyards created the SF-54 to be an assault gunboat with a quick scan of the Starship Registry shows the vessel classified as a light freighter. Whether this misclassification was deliberate or just overlooked, it is not known. But what is known that it saved both retailers and customers a great many credits and a serious volume of official paperwork. With the purchase of with the purchase and registration of an out-and-out gunboat requiring a number of checks and approvals, picking up a simple light freighter took a matter of moments, which explains why to this day the model is a popular choice among bounty hunters and other individuals wanting to keep low but deadly profiles. It somewhat looks like the Razor Crest. It's not, but it somewhat looks like it. Um, built for combat, not comfort. Access to the functional cockpit was up a ladder. There was seating there for a pilot, co-pilot, gunner, and a combined sensor and communications officer. Another ladder led to the top of the ship and a rather uncomfortable crawl out to the rear gunner's position. The ship had three main weapons. Lacking any lateral movement, the rear-firing dual laser cannon was designed more to dissuade any pursuit rather than cause significant damage. But the two front-mounted dual laser cannon turrets on the chin of the ship had an impressive field of fire, as well as ship-to-ship combat. These could also clear the landing zone and keep troops relatively safe as they disembarked. The equipment related to the chin cannons took up the entirety of what might have been a small forward hold. To the rear, the steeply pitched back wall of the hold concealed the tripod landing gear. Up on front, surrounding the crawl space to the rear gun, were the fuel tanks, power generators, the reactor, and other engine bits of vital equipment. To either side, strong connecting struts, each to two powerful cells, led out to the engines, the gunship's far from secret weapons. Mounted on 120-degree rotational ball joints, held in place by powerful electromagnets, the two turbine engines were hugely overpowered for the needs of the SF-54 craft and gave the ship stunning sublight speeds, particularly in atmosphere, and impressive agility. Even coming in at close to full speed, the gunship could stop very quickly by rotating its engines and applying reverse thrust while also stressing out the repulsors. It was not a landing that was kind to passengers caught unawares, but it was very effective in getting boots on the ground in a hurry. With the engines rotated to vertical, the SF-54 could blast straight up out of trouble too. The Halo. The Zabrak bounty hunter Sugi bought herself a second-hand SF-54, recognizing in it the potential of the craft to become a mobile base of operations for her and any team she worked with. Calling her ship the Halo, Sugi went out to work to add various new pieces of equipment. A hyperdrive was the most essential, turning a short-range ship into something more useful. Using the wasted space from the landing gear and the forward gun bay, Sugi added additional storage for supplies. She also managed to fit a basic refresher station in a small but functional cabin. One thing the vessel was never going to offer was an excess of comfort. Halo was designed to get Sugi and her fellow bounty hunters to and from where they were needed. She certainly wasn't planning on living in the ship. The boasted shields and armor, not to mention Sugi's piloting and choice of contracts, meant that the Halo was still around many years after Sugi first flew it, a little before the Clone Wars. Sugi gifted the ship to her niece, Jas Amari, encouraging her to get away from their homeworld of Iridonia and to take up the bounty hunting trade. Jas ended up using the ship to transport a team of New Republic operatives she had joined forces with, led by Nora Wexley, in the lucrative, if highly dangerous, hunt for Imperial war criminals. So, if there's a book series, I think it's 3 books, called Aftermath, and it was written after Disney purchased Lucasfilm, and it was supposed to explain what happened essentially immediately um, after the Empire fell, and so that's where you would find Nora Wexley, and Nora Wexley is the mother of Snap Wexley, who is Greg Gutfield or something like that's his name. He was in The Force Awakens. He's really good friends with who's the director? Um, I can't think of his name. The director of Force Awakens. I can see his face, but I can't think of his name. J.J. Abrams. So yeah, so he's really good friends with J.J. Abrams. Been in tons of stuff. But Snap Wexley is Nora Wexley's son, and he's also in those books as a young boy. So you get to see him as a young pilot. So there you go. Let's go ahead and talk about Sugi's honor. A female Zabrak from Iridonia, Sugi was often mocked by her fellow mercenaries for her honor code. She would never back out of a contract once she took it, nor would she break an existing contract for a larger sum of money. She showed genuine concern for anyone who worked with her, and most damning of all, she would take low pay contracts because they appealed to her sense of justice and honor. Never cruel, never needlessly violent, Sugi would never rise to the heights of bounty hunting trade, something that did not bother her at all. So she was a bounty hunter uh, with a little bit of honor. So there you go. Rescue ship. Not every one of Bounty Hunter's assignments centered on the assassination of a target. When news reached Wookiee chieftain Tarful that his longtime friend and most trusted lieutenant Chewbacca was a captive of the Trandoshan hunters on Washka, he contracted Sugi and hired both her and the Halo to stage a rescue mission. There, they put the Halo use to the use it had been designed for. Tarful and some Wookiee warriors repelled from the hovering assault ship, while others fired down to keep the Trandoshans close to the drop zone fully occupied. After the successful rescue, Sugi took the Wookiees back to Kashyyyk, then transported other rescued individuals, including Ahsoka Tano, back to Coruscant. So if you watched Clone Wars, you would have seen her then. Familiar voices. And this is our behind the scenes here. Despite being manifestly very different characters, a bounty hunter and a pacifist politician, Sugi and Duchess Satine of Mandalore were voiced by the same actor, Anna Graves. For their appearance in Star Wars Clone Wars, Graves gave the Duchess a soft-spoken and reserved character, while Sugi speaks with a harsher accent, which has distinct Russian undertones. There you go. Bombing tactics. This is part of our Secrets of Spaceflight, so we're coming back to that. When the fighting gets too fierce at ground level, or when a target is not safely reached by land-based units, military commanders will often call in aerial bombing or missile runs. They're typically these typically see bombers or hybrid bomber fighters swoop in, deliver as well-timed and devastating a load as possible before returning to the safety of their fleet, base, or into space. With the production of and technology behind such vessels having advanced so rapidly, especially during the arms race that accompanied the escalation of the Clone Wars, the efficiency of the tactic was meant that a great many battles to date have been won or lost through the use of calculated bombing runs, not just a case of hit and run. While it may seem like an easy option for a commander to send their bombers from afar, there is a lot more to it in modern warfare than simply ordering a hit and run. Modern bombers might carry a great deal of the best targeting sensor equipment available, but there are still an enormous number of variables that come into play. Whether in space or a planetary mission, battlefields are a mess of jamming and counter jamming that means sensors cannot be relied on entirely. Guided bombs and missiles can also be affected by the same countermeasures, not to mention the fire from point defense encampments, meaning their release has to be as close to their target as safety allows. The biggest issue that creates for bombing pilots is that even for a moment or two, they must fly in a straight line with minimum bobbing and weaving against a target that the enemy has very likely established defenses around and is prepared for just such an attack. With their ability to deal a devastating blow to all beneath them, bombers are often the top target of any ground-to-air defense encampments in any case, so a low-flying craft following a predictable flight path just makes the gunner's job that little bit easier. Instead, detailed and carefully planned raids must be devised and pilots suitably well drilled for a bombing campaign to be truly effective. how do how do you bomb a Death Star? Practice is key to developing the skills needed to be a bomber pilot. In the ranks of the Republic Navy, it was customary for pilots to run countless simulations, each programmed using the best intel possible on the target and its defenses. That way, the optimal attack pattern could be worked out, including an approach vector that minimized the risk to the attacking ships, while collaborative training with fighter pilots could also be factored in. In essence, though, bomber pilots were trained to come in fast and low, hugging the train on a speedy approach and rising to fire at the last possible moment. This made them a smaller target and minimized the number of angles the defensive fire the attacking pilots had to deal with, while allowing them to deliver as precise a blow as possible. It was this calculated approach, albeit without the benefit of expensive simulations, eh, that was followed by the Rebel Alliance, who most famously used stolen plans for the Death Star on which to base their daring raid over Yavin during the Galactic Civil War. And Luke took that shot, if you guys didn't pick up on that. Ground support. And this is from The Force Awakens here. Uh, though the swooping, weaving bombers might fulfill the most dramatic role in an attack, there are occasions where they need a little assistance from more conventional ground units, and a prime example of this was the Resistance's missile assault on the thermal oscillator on Starkiller Base. X-Wings under the command of Poe Dameron were sent to attack the base's outer structure, but the turbo laser emplacements and electronic countermeasures meant that even vessels as advanced as Dameron's T-70s had to fire at the last minute to guarantee a hit. They braved anti-aircraft fire and, moments after their run, a concentrated assault from first-order TIE fighters. Even with the expertise the Resistance pilots brought to the battle, the defenses around the oscillator were such that the two squadrons were unable to cause significant damage. Only when a small strike team of saboteurs within the base itself managed to blow a hole in the side of it could Dameron fly in to deliver the fatal load to destroy the oscillator destabilize, and ultimately blow up the entire Starkiller base. Change of plans. Regardless of the cunning plans made or the simulations run, it was rare indeed for any plan to survive first contact with an enemy. Bomber commanders and their pilots are trained to anticipate having to deal with the unexpected and to communicate clearly and concisely a new plan of attack. When Anakin Skywalker led a flight of brand new Y-wing bombers against the flagship of the Separatist commander General Grievous, his original plan had been to use his bombers to destroy the bridge of the Malevolence, thereby killing Grievous at the same time as crippling the ship itself. However, the plan was made with limited intel, and the anti-starfighter flak was too intense, stripping Skywalker of almost half of his squadron before they got near the bridge. Under the advice of his Padawan, Anakin switched targets at the last second. He led the Y-Wings in a swooping attack on the main weapon of the Malevolence, its giant ion cannon. Moving in behind the emitter disk, the bombers were able to drop their ordnance directly into vital components. By effectively flying inside the ship, they avoided being targeted by point defense cannon, so they had the luxury of taking their time to line up the shot. The cramped confines magnified the power of the bombs, causing enough damage to make the ion cannon overload when it was fired. The resulting explosions crippled Grievous's flagship. And there you go. That is everything for issue 99. So we did all of this stuff. And it talks about fitting the legs. So, you flip it over and blah, blah, blah. But we didn't do that because no reason to do that just yet. So we added all those parts and got it all painted up. We haven't done these parts here, right? So we've got these all put together. They still need to get painted, and they will when we start working on issue 100. And as mentioned, issue 100 only comes with one part, and that is the remote. But there are plenty of other parts floating around here, such as these. These are some of them, and there's many others around here. I don't know where I have them all at the moment, but these are some of the parts that will be done. This was from issue 47, and this one was from 49. But all of these parts need to get painted and applied and all that kind of stuff. So we have a lot of parts to put on, and we will start doing that when we do issue 100. So I will see you back here for issue 100, which will mark the end of the build phase, and then we will go 100% into the detailing phase, and that's going to be all the painting and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see you back here for that. I want to thank you all for watching, and may the Force be with you always.